cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best. I am what I am today, cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say.
Welcome back to The Deal. I'm Danny Brown. Hope you all had a happy, healthy holiday season and wishing you all good things in the new year. This is season 2 of The Deal, episode 1 with my man Stryker from KROQ. Just a dynamic, talented, wonderful guy. I've known him my whole life. We go back from the music business, from Little League baseball days. Just got such good things to say. Really, really a consummate professional on the radio and has been doing it for years. And just from Lovelines to KROQ to this new show Audience he's doing on DirecTV and just on and on. So please tune in and subscribe if you don't want to miss any episodes. If you can leave a comment for us, that would be very helpful. Helps our ratings. Our ratings have been improving steadily. Our subscriber base has been improving. Our views is blowing up. So let's keep this up. Let's try to blow it up in 2020. And thank you for listening. We really, really appreciate your support. This is Danny Brown. Welcome back to The Deal, Season 2, Episode 1. I got my man Stryker here. Thank you for coming.
What's up, DB? I walked in this office. I see how nice this is. I'm comfortable. You have your own sign. We got a
sign,
view.
brand new sign for Season 2, just for you.
You get a sign. That means you've made it. You've made it. Throw in the towel now in life.
Yeah, let's hope they don't drop and cut us after Season 2, Episode 1. But I've been trying to get Stryker on since the first episode. I thought, I got to get you on, but I got you the first episode of Season 2. That's almost as good as the first episode. I'm happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
I got to do a disclaimer. Stryker's a lifelong friend, known him my whole life. We have a lot of history, sports, family, real estate, music, everything.
Yeah.
So I just want to have that disclaimer. But love you, one of the greatest guys I know.
Thanks,
Big heart.
DB.
I'm very proud of you and your career.
Thank you, Dan.
And now I'm counting on you to blow up this podcast.
You got it.
If you fail, we're getting dropped. All the pressure's on you. Apple said we're getting canceled.
You're not going to get
Stryker
canceled.
Gets ratings.
I don't think Apple cancels anything.
Oh,
We're good.
God. Good.
We're good.
God.
I promise to bring in at least 4 people, though.
Okay, that's good. That's doubling our audience. That's doubling. And your dad and brother don't count.
No, they do not.
So let's get back to, or let's start this with, hey, look, you've been in radio, you've been in entertainment your whole career, but let's start with how you got into radio and what your first radio job looked like. What made you even think about doing this? Because I know growing up like us, you were, people may not know this, but an amazing athlete.
Oh.
And like many of our close friends, you probably could have pursued athletics through college and pro and all that, but you somehow got into this fucking crazy business of radio. Excuse my French.
It's a miracle. Thanks for the nice words about being an athlete. DB is really an awesome athlete.
Oh, well.
I felt like I was all right in sports till about 14. Then everyone just grew right past me. But then at like 19, I grew again. I
had a growth spurt.
I had a super late growth spurt.
If you had that growth spurt in high school, you would have been unstoppable.
I could have gone state.
Yeah, for sure.
In 1993, I was, I guess, a junior in college, but I was not studying broadcasting or anything like that.
So you weren't studying it?
No, I never even thought about radio or broadcasting as a career. But I think looking back, being in sports, as you mentioned, there's a competitive thing inside of me. And so no matter what career I think anyone does, if you want to go somewhat far in it, you need that little competitive thing inside.
Absolutely.
And kind of play and work with a chip on your shoulder and all that kind of stuff. So I met a guy in Tucson that worked in radio, not the college radio.
Oh, the real radio station.
The real radio. And I listened to his station and I just said, hey, can I come check out your radio station one day? His name is Bruce St. James. Great guy, incredibly talented. Bruce St. James.
Man, let me just check it out. I'm interested in just hanging and seeing what you do.
Just hanging.
Yeah.
He was the nicest guy. And I remember he was outside my apartment in Tucson. I lived at University Heights, and some of the U of A basketball players lived there.
Got it.
And Bruce knew a couple of those guys. And so I just started talking to Bruce, who was the best. He said, come to the station. And then once I was there, I said, hey, is there any chance I can be on the radio?
Just like that?
Just like that.
You had the balls? You wanted to do it?
I guess I did. Looking back, I'm like, what an idiot I am. Why would I want to do that?
Yeah.
Why would I put this guy in a position?
Yeah.
He couldn't just say no. He's like, sure, come back. I don't think he thought I would come back, but I came back. And once I got in the building and once I got on the air, I was kind of addicted to the whole.
You loved it.
So I love the business. I absolutely loved it, every part of it. But I was horrible on the radio. Absolutely the worst thing anyone's ever heard.
When you got on the air the first time? What did he tell you to say this or say that, or he just said hello?
He said, "How we talk when we're hanging out. Try to talk like that on the radio."
Okay.
But he didn't tell me that I also had to run my own board and grab all the commercials from the rack while trying to talk and hearing myself in headphones for the first time and introducing music.
So there's a lot of things happening at once.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it looked.
No. And again, I was just awful. But just to get the opportunity, I'm so lucky to have got that opportunity. And then.
So they threw you into the fire? Like, here you go?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Sink or swim?
Sink or swim. Here you go. And the first time I was on was with him in the afternoon around 3 p.m. And then the first time alone, I was on from 12 to 6 in the morning. And I was I was a college student. I wasn't doing great in school. I was in college. So during the day, I was going to classes.
Yeah.
And then doing some of these overnight shifts.
And were like your friends at school knowing you were doing it? Were they all tuning in going, oh my God, that's our buddy on the radio?
Yeah, but they were like, why are you doing this? You're the worst radio host we've ever heard in our entire life. Why are you, of all people, allowed to do this?
Yeah, got it. They're like, thank God it's the middle of the night. No one's listening.
Exactly.
So really, you were stumbling, mumbling, learning the trade. And
right.
So you weren't a natural.
No, but at the same time, I mean, I've worked at 31 Flavors. I worked at the Four Seasons.
Hook me up with some Rocky Road.
Right.
I remember getting an extra scoop.
Yes. Yeah. But everyone's terrible at their job in any field the first 4 to 6 weeks. I was terrible for many years in a row on the radio. I still don't think I know what I'm doing. But that's how I got my start in Tucson, Arizona, while going to U of A.
Oh, my God. And how long did that gig last in Tucson?
So the Tucson gig, I worked at 3 different radio stations in Tucson. The first one was like a top 40 hip-hop leaning radio station, and this is 1993. So this is the introduction of Snoop Dogg.
Oh,
no one ever heard of
Chronic,
Snoop. This is
Dogg,
like
Dr.
Warren
Dre.
G's Regulate. This is when Boys to Men were at their height. This is when there were rappers like
hip-hop.
Too Short, The Heyday, Tribe Called Quest, Diggable Planets.
Marauders. Yes.
The introduction of Coolio. Das Effects. Exactly.
Oh, Diggable Planet. Let's go.
Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Bone.
Don't
get me started. Then Cypress Hill.
Exactly.
Shout out to Cypress Hill here.
Yeah,
right?
Be Real's the best.
Oh, legendary.
Yeah.
So what a time.
It was an incredible time. But that station I was on, which was an AM radio station.
AM.
But we were killing it in ratings.
So it was a popular station.
A very, very, very popular station, D. It was. And again, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand the business. I just knew I'd go at this time and work on the air. But I also did 3 or 4 other jobs at the station at the same time. I drove the van. I set up the broadcast from different locations, hung banners, you name it. I did it.
So you wore a lot of hats.
Yes.
So you sort of learned the business bottom up.
100%.
Everything.
Yes.
Damn, and you were young. Now, were you now there finishing? You finished school and stayed there working in radio.
Right. Now I finished school again. Once I was in radio, school kind of took a back seat, but I did finish. It took quite a few years. It wasn't 4 years or 5 years.
You weren't on the dean's list?
I was not on the dean's list. The only list,
Wait, is this before you had the job at the pool at the Four Seasons or after?
So
because that was the best. How'd you have these good jobs? Free ice cream. Then you had the job at the pool with all the hot MILFs walking around. And now you're working in radio and you don't even know radio. What was going on?
The Four Seasons.
No wonder you quit
gig,
sports early.
The Four Seasons gig, though. So I started in radio, and then I decided I wanted to stop everything and come back to LA and see if I could get anything going here.
Got it. So
got a job at the Four Seasons, worked there 6-7 months, and then went back to Tucson and got the radio gig back.
Got it. So that was just a little detour.
That was a small detour, and I realized, okay, working at this job, setting out towels, putting out baked goods for these people, this is fun. This is hard work, but I got to get back to the radio station. I was very, very fortunate that I even had the opportunity to go to Tucson to begin with.
Yeah. So how many years, or let's say, what was the year that you ended up getting to LA, and what brought you to LA? Was it that you were killing it in smaller market Tucson, and LA said, hey, we see this talent? Is it like anything else? Let's recruit the talent to a bigger market, and that's what happened? Or
that is what happened.
And were you doing blown away? Or
100%. I was doing the morning show in Tucson, and I was by myself. It was a solo morning show. There was no producer. I had no phone screener. I had no partner on the air. I did everything.
What were the hours of that?
5:30 a.m. to 10.
5:30 a.m.?
Yeah. And it was just me doing, as people know, a morning show was a ton of talk. I played some songs, interviews, but I organized it all.
So you did it all.
I did it all.
You were producing your own show.
I was.
So you learned everything.
I was also the music director of the radio station.
Got it.
So I was in charge, along with the program director, of what songs got selected and when they were played, how many times a week.
Well, what an experience that is.
Great experience.
Think about that. So this is, you're young, you're beginning your career, and you're doing everything. That you can do in that job.
And looking
that's
back,
very impressive.
Thanks, man. Looking back, I asked myself, why would they allow me to have this job?
How did they let this
they
schmuck
own this
fool
company,
them?
this radio, and we're letting this guy do these things? Like, what idiots they are. But I'm so appreciative that I got that opportunity. But how I got to KROQ, Danny, I was doing the morning show, and somebody from KROQ, who his name's Del Williams.
Yeah.
He did something. He didn't work for KROQ directly, but he heard me and told Kevin Weatherly, who runs
legendary,
KROQ,
Kevin
you got to
Weatherly.
hear this guy. He sounds like LA. He sounds like KROQ. One day I got a voicemail from Kevin Weatherly saying, hey, this is Kevin Weatherly. Want to talk to you.
Right.
Sent him my tape.
You believe it was him, or you're like,
I believed it was him.
Larry Israel's leaving me a crank call.
I knew it was him, and I sent him my stuff. He flew me out a week later, and then 2 weeks later, I was on KROQ, and the first time I was on was not even like Tucson. He put me on at 6 p.m. on a Friday afternoon.
You'd never been on KROQ.
Never.
And did you have, when they put you on a slot like that, is it like, here's the summary of what you need to do? Like, what do they tell you what's the playbook for someone like you that's going on radio, and it's your first day, it's a new station. I don't know if it was a new genre of music at that point, but whatever the case, it's a new job. So is there like here's the manual to be a radio host? Like, what the hell do they do? How do you prepare?
Right. Well, I was coming from the alternative rock format. After my initial stint in radio, I think I only did 2 years in that first format.
So you were doing the music already.
I was like Rob Zombie, Korn, Rage Against the Machine, Green Day, Blink, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains. That was the music I was into.
Yeah,
so I was
stepping
into that same format here at KROQ.
Got it.
And the playbook was relax, be yourself. Here's the things that we're talking about this weekend. We're giving away tickets to see Marilyn Manson and Hole, and take calls and have fun. And I want to hear you. And that's what I did.
Were you shaking, nervous, or was it like you did enough hours up to that, you put in your time, and you were able to just kind of be calm and just do it and flow?
I had waves of both.
Waves of both.
Because the studio at the time at KROQ was on the 9th floor of a building in Burbank, looking over the 134 freeway. And there were more people on that freeway when I went on that listened to me in Tucson in a full 4-hour stretch.
Wow.
And that last station in Tucson, it was on a dirt road. Now I'm on the 9th floor on KROQ, looking out, bumper to bumper traffic, people listening.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm glad I didn't realize at the time, but every time you talk on the microphone, anytime you put up a YouTube interview or
anything,
lucky to be on TV, you're being judged every second. But at the time, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just doing my thing. And here it is. I guess I don't care.
And was it immediate that they knew that immediately you were a fit? Immediately you had the right personality and understanding of the audience? I mean, knowing you, yeah, that's a no-brainer, but they didn't know you. I mean, Kevin Weatherly didn't really know you. He had some of your work, but how long did it take before they were like, oh yeah, Stryker is our guy for KROQ. We need this guy to be the face of the brand, so to speak.
Well, I don't know if they've ever said that, but I felt real comfortable probably 3 months in.
Couple months. Okay.
Yeah, but I went in often to go over every show that I did. Do it this way. This sounds better if you do it this way. They weren't changing or telling me how to be a personality or change who I was, but just think about this as a broadcaster. Go this way. And I'll never forget the harshest they ever were. No one had ever heard of Coldplay. And they came in on the afternoon show with me.
You might have played me that tape in your car before anyone heard of Coldplay.
Yeah. And
it was one of many. You played me lots of stuff in your car of like, listen to this.
Linkin
no one's
Park,
ever heard of
System
it.
of a Down, Jack Johnson.
A lot of them. And this is like, I don't even know if they were signed yet. It was like this band people are looking into. I mean, that was an awesome experience.
That was just
when I was my music days and you were getting stuff and I was looking at stuff. That was a really cool time.
It was fun.
Yeah.
But Coldplay came in the studio and I was just terrible.
Why? What happened?
They were on one level and I was on a totally different level, and I should have adjusted to their level. But again, so green in the business.
Got it.
I did some interviews in Tucson, but never were this band who was on the cusp of exploding. Where some people knew who they were, of course, but it was not good. And my boss called me, and he's like, "That stunk.
Oh God,
that was not good."
And yet, was that the worst feeling?
It's a bad feeling. I mean, it's never a good feeling when you're told you stink.
Yeah.
But I learned from that, and I still take that advice to this day, whether I'm doing band interviews or on TV or on radio, or if they're just going up on YouTube.
So you're working on your craft, you're studying the game, you're consummate professional. And that's an interesting thread with people that we have on our show, with successful people in every business. That is a common thread, to really be a professional, study, learn from your mistakes, be self-aware. And that's what I'm hearing you say. And it's also a lot of grind and hustle at the end of the day. Because it's a lot of work. It's got to be exhausting hours, early, late, and everything in between. You got early shows and you got late shows. I mean, that's absolutely nuts. So,
it definitely is a grind. And that thing I mentioned earlier about you get judged every second, and people can write to you how terrible you are or how great you are instantly on Instagram, on Twitter, on
all day.
On YouTube.
So you're getting...
I have some videos that have like 1 million views or more, and every so often I'll punish myself and read the comments.
And it just hurts.
Like, this guy's got a misshaped head. His cheekbone is distracting me. His pants are too tight. What horrible shoes this guy has. I mean, it has nothing to do with the interview.
It's just a siege on your self-esteem and confidence.
Yeah.
Pride-swallowing siege.
But there's also some really nice things. But one of the things that you just hinted on, it's kind of how I live, and I don't think I was trained this way. I think it's just how I tick. I never think I've got the career down. I always think someone is behind me and is going to be way better than me, or I think the company is going to tap me on the shoulder and say, thanks for being here. It's time for you to go. Yeah. And I work like that, or at least attempt to, every single day.
Yeah. Well, that's another very common thread with successful people in every business. You're always trying to get better. You're never satisfied. You're never complacent. You're always looking to improve. It's like the Mamba mentality with Kobe Bryant, but apply it to business.
Yes.
Very common. So KROQ. So you're at KROQ. You're blowing up, so to speak. You've been there now. I don't want to get into all the details. There's so many things, and we'll get into stories, but you've been there 10, 15 years or so, but you've also done a lot of other stuff besides KROQ, a lot of TV.
Yeah. I've been there over 20 years at KROQ.
Has it been over 20 years?
It's like 21 years.
I'm that old.
When I started, I had a lot more hair. I don't have
less
facial
stress.
hair. Yeah, exactly.
I definitely had more hair when you started, and I was a little leaner, a lot faster. So tell us a little bit about the other stuff. I know you've had this TV, the audience, DirecTV, but you've done a lot of TV, not just that. But can you speak to sort of that side of your career, like getting in front of the camera, not just...
For sure. So I had never done one bit of TV in my life, ever. And in 99 or 2000, MTV called the station, and they said, hey, we heard you on the radio.
They just called you
meeting. Yeah, they just called. No agent, no nothing.
Just some executive at one.
Yeah. So I went in, and next thing you know, I was doing a TV show called Who Knows the Band. I think we did
Yes, that's
60 episodes of
Who
that.
Knows the Band? That was the first TV show.
Yeah.
What that was in the 90s?
That was
Early 2000s.
I think it started
or late 90s?
early 2000s.
I remember that. Who Knows the Band?
And all that stuff was just kind of icing on the cake. And even though I was so fortunate to get these TV opportunities, my focus was on radio so much. And Carson Daly,
Yes.
who we all know, who's from Southern California, he was on KROQ.
He was a KROQ.
He was a KROQ.
Same time.
And he got an MTV gig, but he decided to leave KROQ to
Focus
do
on
TV full
TV.
time.
Yeah.
And so when KROQ brought me in, one of the things they said was, and I totally get it, look, you're a radio guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, I am. And nothing was going to sway me from leaving the radio station. So there are a lot of opportunities that came along that I didn't do, but some that came along that I did. But MTV, VH1, Spike TV. I was on the Ellen Degeneres Show for 100.
Oh, yeah, that's
I did like
right.
130
That
episodes
was
of
great.
that show. Maybe.
That was fun because that was a whole different type of thing for you.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and I know there's some big things that you've passed on, some big TV gigs that you passed on that could have changed things, but that's part of it, right? So you were passionate about radio, and that's where, and you were also, I remember talking about who you were as your passion in music and your authentic love of alternative and up and coming and discovering bands. And
I love that.
A lot of the TV stuff, some of the big stuff that came your way was very pop, mainstream, and you just felt it didn't fit right with your compass of really where you were going and what you believed in.
That's exactly
and
right.
you were like, I remember that you gave up some big money gigs to say, you know what, this isn't me. And some other guys made some big money off it,
which is fine.
Yeah, but that wasn't you. That you stayed true to yourself.
Yeah, and times were a lot different than now. The word mystique, no one cares about mystique.
Yes,
because you can look up anybody, instantly see their Instagram, Twitter. You can see their pictures everywhere online. Doesn't matter who you are. Now that word
doesn't matter.
Mystique, right? It doesn't. And
but it did then.
It did, and I was beyond protective of
you,
my own
your
mystique.
Essence,
not that I'm some crazy mysterious person.
But your
I'm
brand,
it
was your brand. It was you, because your brand is you. It's your passion and what you loved, and your music and your culture and the kids and following. I don't want to say kids because we were that age too,
right?
But a lot of people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. But anyway, that was really interesting and commendable. That tells a lot about you.
Thank you.
Following your path and not being swayed. And look at you now. Now you're 20 years at KROQ.
And now I'm just an old man in a radio booth talking to people.
Man, there is so many stories that I have. Some of the most fun times I've had with you. In fact, in our single days, if there was one guy that would always be down to go anywhere, Vegas, Mexico, that would be the call. That would be the call.
Oh, Barry?
Barry, no, you. Barry Levine too was in. Barry was flying in. If we're going somewhere, Barry's in, but you were in. But we did some fun stuff, and I wanted you to remember what you remember about you inviting me to go to the Caribbean at the Atlantis with Incubus.
That was really fun.
But
MGD.
The MGD.
Blind Data was called. It was a great idea they did. They would take a huge band and fly a bunch of people to a pretty cool location. They wouldn't tell the winners who the band was till the curtain came down.
Yeah, so they'd fly people out. This was at the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas.
Right. So my plus
like,
one was Danny right there.
You want to come to us? I'm like, yeah. Jump on the plane with Incubus. We're going.
And we're going, but no one knew
that they were there.
Incubus was there. And we were staying at the Atlantis, this incredibly nice resort.
Yeah.
They put Incubus in a horrible hotel right down the street, hiding. With a pool that was so dirty. It was like the Karate Kid pool when they first moved to Southern California.
Disgusting.
And it sees how dirty it is. That was the Incubus pool while we're going water slides through shark tanks.
Yeah. We're living large.
Yes.
We're living. I remember we were in the casino. They wanted to come to the casino. We had to hide them off to the side. We're playing blackjack with Brandon and Mikey. And,
how lucky were we that we got to do that?
How lucky was I that you let me tag along? And I can't think of like the dozens and dozens of shows, local shows, far shows. I even remember vividly the early Coachella shows. Coachella was such a different animal in the early years.
Coachella.
And I remember being at those shows with some of the headliners, and I said, was it Radiohead or Oasis?
Yeah,
or
I remember
Coldplay.
year one was...
What was year one's?
Radiohead.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I want to say Radiohead. I know it was I know Rage
early
Against the
was
Machine and
Rage.
Weezer were there at year
Yes.
one, and nobody was there.
No one was there.
I
We
was
were there. No one was
standing
there.
on the stage
Yeah.
for Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Just standing there.
Yeah, I remember being right there in front, and it was a different thing. It was all this open space and not a lot of people, and it was for a couple of years. It kind of slowly
For 5 years, I had to give a 10-minute monologue on what Coachella was to people. I'm going
Yeah.
to Coachella to work. What's Coachella?
Yeah,
There's Empire Polo Fields. If you go
Yeah.
about 40 minutes past Palm Springs, there's stages and tents and all these great
Yeah.
bands. And one year I remember when Coachella was still trying to introduce what Coachella was, I had a stack of tickets this big.
you couldn't get rid of them.
Couldn't get rid of them. Now you are lucky to get one ticket
Yeah.
to Coachella. It sells out before they even say who the lineup is.
And I remember those first few years, it was epic. And that was really where it was like, okay, this is the time where we're music and culture. It's a different thing now. It's everything at once. Now it's normal that all these genres are all blending and mixed together. But at the time, it was like, wow, you got Jay-Z and you got Limp Bizkit and you got Rage and you got Weezer and you got a reggae
you have
band.
Prodigy in this
Prodigy,
tent, and
yeah.
the Nine Inch Nails are here, and then maybe like a Tears for Fears style band over here.
Right.
But bringing all those people together out there in the desert, what a smart move by them.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting Al
it's
Hagen
still
on the
fun.
podcast, by the way. Who?
Oh, are you?
The
Oh,
Hagen
excellent.
Owns Empire
Nice.
Pulse. I'd
Yeah.
love to get him on. He hasn't committed, but he's going to do it.
nice.
But yeah, I like to call that the Coachella effect because it's impacted so much of culture after that. I was Josh Levine, who's coming on an episode soon. He was talking about that with me. He was very involved with that. So Coachella was unbelievable. All the KROQ acoustic Christmases, Weenie Road. There's been so much stuff through the years.
Depeche Mode at the Troubadour, Stone Temple Pilots at the Roxy,
Stone Temple Pilots.
Nine Inch Nails at the Troubadour.
Yeah.
Just U2 at the Roxy.
Yeah, for those that haven't been to these clubs or don't know that these clubs, they hold like 200 people.
Right.
You're
And they're
as close-
historic clubs.
Yeah,
It's
then
where-
you're this close and you're seeing some of the biggest bands in the world in these tight knit clubs.
Right.
There's no experience better than
There's
seeing
not.
those. Like we were joking about the Dragonfly and the Viper Room, and like on any given night back in the day, Chili Pepper show up. You know, and
Right.
like I don't know if we even had it wasn't text. I don't know how people found out about it, but
we would just call.
we would call. I guess on the
Guess what? Jane's Addiction's going to be doing this at this
and
place.
next
They
thing you
go
know,
on at 9:30.
300 kids are lined up around
Yeah.
at the Viper Room, and it's on. So, any fun stories you want to share? I know there's crazy stories all over. What you can share, you can get into any funny anecdotes or stories with bands or things you've done. I know you've kind of seen it all, but
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a good screw up I had.
yeah, I'd love
It
to.
was 1999, Rage Against the Machine, who are now back together playing Coachella this year, by the way.
Oh,
Rage are playing Coachella this year. Yeah, they are back together.
Rage.
My Chemical Romance is back together now also.
Nice. That was Craig's band. Craig Aronson, rest in peace, my guy.
Yeah.
I worked with for years.
Yeah.
What a great guy. So the Rage is back.
Yeah, Rage is back, but it was 1999 in their album, which I think is their best album, The Battle of Los Angeles.
Battle of LA.
Just
It was
came out,
epic.
and they were doing a show at the El Rey on Wilshire Boulevard. And my job was to go there and record an interview, not on video, just audio, with Tom Morello.
Oh,
And then-
Morello.
That
Getting busy.
interview was going to be put on like 50 or 60 radio stations. So the engineers give me the equipment. I go to the El Rey, and again, 99 is my first year in LA. Nobody knows me for the Man in the Moon. I am so nervous for this interview. I do the interview, and while it's going, I'm saying to myself, man, you're real good right now. You are doing so good in this
You're
interview.
patting yourself on the back.
Inside, I am. I'm like, wow, Tom Morello and I are vibing.
Yeah, we got Rage Against the
Interview
Machine.
ends 20 minutes. My boss is going to be so proud. I forgot to hit record.
What? No. No.
I forgot to hit record. So I'm panicking.
Oh.
My face is red. Tom Morello's gone. He's
Gone.
preparing because their show starts in 2 hours.
Oh, God.
And he went home because he had 2 hours.
Oh,
They had done
God.
sound check.
You're like, wait, Tom, that was a take. That was the rehearsal. Can you come do the real?
I had to call my boss
Kevin Weatherly?
and tell him
What
what
did you say?
happened. I said, I just did the interview and I didn't press record. And all these stations are depending on this
My
interview.
God.
So
Are
he
you thinking you're
called-
fired on the spot? Like, done?
I'm thinking I'm either getting fired or all the great stock that I had with the company in terms of my performance in the
to that
first few
moment might
moments
save
are
your
going
ass.
right down the toilet now. I'm done. They're going to hate me.
Yeah.
Listen to what a guy Tom Morello is. What a great guy. My bosses call their management. They call Tom. Tom says, if you can get to my house in 40 minutes, bring the equipment, press record, we'll do it again.
Amazing. What a good guy.
So good. But when I went to his house, they sent 3 engineers with me.
So one of 3 are hitting the play.
One of 3 is going to make sure that
They hit the play
frickin'
button.
thing is recording. So we did the interview again. It was not nearly as good, but Tom Morello
What
is
a
just
mensch.
what a guy.
I see him at soccer sometimes with the kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's an unreal story because he didn't know you. You had no relationship, nothing.
No
This is
relationship at all.
He didn't owe you anything.
Nope.
He already put in his time.
I mean, Pac-12 school right here, not press and record. Tom Morello, Harvard.
Harvard.
I just, gosh, I was just so excited to do the interview. I just didn't do the engineer part of it.
You gotta send him a turkey every Thanksgiving for saving your career.
I thank him all the time.
Yeah.
I thank him all the time.
What does
And
that say about him? In a world of divas and people that are entitled and not interested in anyone but themselves. And
That's right.
he goes out of his way for a young kid who's starting in the business.
Right, exactly. And what I have found over the years, a lot of the most talented people in the business who are doing well are also the most selfless and do not feel entitled.
Like Tom.
And that's why their career continues to go. And you have to have the talent. You have to be uber
course.
talented. But that combination of those 3 things, you are set.
Well, that's interesting in terms of success at a superstar level. Who do you feel that way about besides Tom? Who are some of these people that you feel like, hey, they're just have been such good people?
Yeah.
Because that's really a hard thing to be at that level of success with everyone kissing your ass and the world, you get so, even if you are a grounded person, you get so whacked out by the constant attention and fame and money and all the things that come at you. But so to stay a centered, giving, soulful, spiritual, nice person.
Right. I mean, I'll give the credit to Mike Shinoda from Lincoln Park, Mark Hoppus and Travis Barker.
Yeah. Good dudes.
Be Real from Cypress Hill.
Yeah. Legend.
Did I say the guys from No Doubt?
No Doubt. No.
Tony, Tom, and Adrian. I don't know Glenn as well.
Just thought of a show you took me to with No Doubt. Oh my God. A few of those.
I mean, these people, they have done so much and accomplished so much, and they're still like, what can we do? How can we make this good? When are you available? And if we say, oh, we're going to start at 12, they're there at 11:40. So
they're just responsible, considerate.
Yes.
Another really interesting lesson for those that are, coming up in business and entertainment or any business, but that's just an important quality to have.
And I think another great lesson, sorry, because you're talking about these things and it's triggering the way
It's
I
important.
think
This is what the deal's about here, trying to pass on knowledge and lessons for people coming up and people in business.
Right.
And, it's a
you
big
never
fee.
know who's listening or who's watching. I was in Tucson on a dirt road. If I stunk that morning on the radio, this person would be like, oh, there's just another person trying to do radio.
Yeah.
I just feel lucky. And again, I am so far from being even close to perfect in things in my life, but I attempt to really give it my all because, again, you never know who's watching and listening.
Love it.
And I am not clinically depressed, but get depressed if I do a bad job. Like the whole night, I'm rolling around in bed. I'm like, I can't believe I just dropped the ball. I was 21 Pilots interview. How did I mess this? Yeah.
Well, that's the fire inside, but that's what a quality that is to just every day you start from zero and you give it 100% and every day grind because you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's judging. And if you want to be a champion, you have to be on every day. Doesn't matter if you feel sick, doesn't matter if you're tired, doesn't matter if your girlfriend got mad at you, if your mom's punished, like you got to step in every day and go all out if you expect to compete at the highest level.
And there's a lot of competition.
And there is
everyone thinks they can do it, and that's great. Whether it's acting, comedy, real estate, radio host, anyone can do it.
Anything's competitive. Yeah.
So everyone is always trying to do better than you.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to. Even though I know the reality is, of course, a lot of people are funnier and better looking and better at their job.
Nobody's better looking than
all
you.
That, but at least I try my best at it.
So that's great. If there's any other stories, feel free to pop in. But I want to also ask you about your new setup. You have a new partner at KROQ.
Yes, I do.
Stryker and Klein.
Stryker and Klein in the afternoon.
I'd love to hear how that came about, and it seems like it's doing well. It just took off, and you guys do well together.
Thank
so talk
you.
a little bit about how that came about and what's going on with that.
In my career of radio, this is my third partner I've ever had. The first one was a guy named Joseph Blair, who was a U of A basketball player.
Oh, really?
And he wanted to be in broadcasting.
This is in Arizona.
In Arizona.
Yeah.
My first radio gig. It's still at that first station. We become partners.
Yeah.
Joseph Blair then went on to be a Harlem Globetrotter.
Wow.
And now he is an assistant coach, if you watch the NBA, for the 76ers.
That's right. He's got an NBA job.
He's got a real NBA job.
Incredible.
Last year, he coached a G League team, and they won it all.
They won it all?
They won it all. So
he's in it. He's a serious coach.
He's a real serious coach.
That's amazing.
And then my second partner ever was Dr. Drew for Loveline. That was great
totally
training
forgot
ground.
about that. You were on Lovelines for years.
Yeah. That was incredible training ground to have a partner, juggle calls, have guests, try to keep everyone involved. So the reason why I have a partner now,
Yeah.
I was feeling stale solo on the air.
Yeah.
The Kevin and Bean show in the morning, I was lucky enough to fill in for Bean when he was off for 4 weeks.
Yep.
And that just got my
Lit you
brain
up.
going and lit me up. And like, I got to do more. I need someone in here.
You need the stimulation and
Yeah, exactly. And I want to try to get better and have this partner. So we brought in Klein, who is a 100% professional guy. He really drives me. I think I drive him. He's the yin to my yang. He's
That's
pessimistic.
awesome.
I'm optimistic. He's an idea machine. We go in, we create stuff every day, and it feels like there's a little something happening with it.
Yeah.
But I earlier I was talking about how awful I was in the first radio gig. You should have heard us in the beginning of this thing. It was not good.
stumbling and mumbling all over each other.
Yeah, and just bad ideas, and we were throwing so many things at the wall, and nothing was really sticking.
Got it.
And it is that you want to talk about something that's really tough. There, of course, there's tough things in life, but professionally tough. Going home day after day after day and know you did terrible.
So you can feel the rejection and the failure.
Yes.
And you're like, we came up with these, we created this, and it flopped.
And he's talking over me, and I'm talking over him,
Yeah.
and I'm bringing this energy, and he's at this energy, and I'm used to doing interviews solo, and I have my own style. Now
Yeah.
he's coming in with this,
His
but
style.
now it's like
So you guys have melded together.
Oh, yeah.
And how long did that take in your eye?
it's still happening.
You're still happening.
It's still happening.
And what was his background? Did he come from radio?
He did a morning show in San Francisco.
Okay.
He also worked at KROQ in New York. He is a real broadcaster, and he is a guy that loves the science of radio probably more than me.
Wow.
And
So he's a student of the game.
he is a student of the game.
Got to get him in here to
Yeah.
get his take.
Yeah.
So you're enjoying that.
I am really. It is a
breathed
challenge.
new life.
Yes,
And-
exactly.
And you guys are coming up with creative stuff. So what is your schedule with him? When are you on? Tell
we
us
are
about
on
that.
3 to 7 p.m.
Monday through Friday.
Yep. We get there about 12:30.
Is that called drive time?
drive time on KROQ?
3 to 7, Monday
3
through
to 7.
Friday.
We get there really early, and we just go through so many different stories that are out there in the world. We don't do This is the escape from politics. We
yeah.
don't even
You don't-
mention Trump's name. We don't mention the impeachment.
Yeah.
And actually, we were doing a segment like non-impeachment news, and it was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
some stupid story.
Just to get off of that.
Yeah.
So you go in there you go in early and you brainstorm for
we
the day.
brainstorm. We map out the show. At
So you don't
4:10,
know when you wake up in the morning and head up to KROQ, the show isn't mapped out.
It is
you
not
guys
mapped
have
out.
to create it.
We have to create it, and we could do what I consider to be an awesome show. But who cares? Because you got to go the next day and do it again.
Yeah.
And it can be really
It's exhausting.
frustrating. It is exhausting day after day after day, and execute it how you want. Because
Yeah.
here's the giant bullet point. Here's the topic. Executing it
It's different.
is different than here's the
idea.
topic.
Yeah.
Here's the topic. And we really pull back the curtain on our lives. We talk about our wives. We talk about our life. We talk about our troubles.
How is Katie? I love her.
Everyth's great.
Beautiful
Everything's
wife.
great. Thanks.
Knock on
yes,
wood.
Yes.
Hi,
So-
Jessica, my beautiful wife.
Hello, Jessica.
Hi,
Hi, Jessica.
Katie, his
Hi,
beautiful
everybody.
wife. Get her on. She's fun. So, my God. So, are you able to sleep at night knowing that you got to get up and
Yeah,
come up
definitely.
with a 4-hour show every
Right.
day?
Yes,
I mean,
I
other
am.
days you're like, I got nothing. I got nothing. How many ideas can you come up with every day?
That's exactly right. Because there's always stories out there but not every story is going to connect with you. Because the point is, here's the story. How can I relate to this? How can I give my own personal take? How does this relate to me? How can I make it fun, funny, entertaining, informative, all in one? Like fill all those buckets. And sometimes I got nothing. Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
And you're just dying. You're like, I got nothing here. I got to come up with something.
Right.
You're squeezing a rock for blood.
Yeah.
Like, what do? We have 4 hours to fill.
It's just like playing sports.
Yeah.
Especially a baseball season. You have 162 games. You go 0 for 4.
Training, yeah.
Luckily, there's a game the next day. You can do better.
Yeah. So that's wild. So you look at it as, hey, what are current events, stories that are out there? That's
current
your starting
events
point.
And dumb stories, not dumb news, but just stories like relationship stories.
Whatever story, you're looking at everything.
And we call that our jumping off point. So we'll use only one sentence from a story
and then
that got our brain going, and then the 99% of the rest of what we do on the air is from us.
Yeah. That's a lot of work. Tell me to rewind back, because it's so impressive. Loveline, one of the biggest radio shows ever, one of the most influential, important, really got talking about mental health in a mainstream way before even now. It's just starting to become a normal thing, more popular. But this was years ago, Kevin, Dr. Drew was talking about this. So tell me about your experience there, and how many years were you on? How many shows?
I did it 3.5 years, 5 days a week. That was such a great learning experience because
it wasn't music.
It wasn't music. It was all talk. But again, you're kind of the captain of the show as the host, even though Drew is the voice of the show. Mm-hmm. So for me to work in Blink-182 as guests, the caller who may have a real serious issue, because not every call is like, I got bit in my privates by a raccoon.
No, it's like I want to
molestation, physical abuse.
Yeah, I want to commit suicide.
Right, and there's a poor 18-year-old, 15-year-old calling.
Yeah, real serious, life-threatening type stuff.
Right, and so juggling all that really helped train me as a professional. And what I got from doing that show is, because you're on in so many places. I mean, there was a lot of places where I was criticized for the job, then loved for the job. And that was
for the same thing.
Right. That was a total roller coaster for that. Yeah. And that show got my skin more thick, I would say, if that's the way you say it, in terms of letting things like, not every comment is important. Mm-hmm. You're the worst ever. You're the best. It's just, did I do a good job? In my own mind, did I prepare properly?
So are you saying that you were just much more under the microscope because of serious content you guys were discussing?
I think more because of the history of the show.
Got it.
There's so much history. And Adam Carolla did it before me. Yeah, he's a legend in radio. Of course, no one did that show better. And I didn't replace him because there was no host for 6 months, though.
Yeah, it was Drew solo. Kobe. You don't replace Magic. You don't replace Adam Carolla. You are the next one doing your thing.
Right.
You can't replace a legend. No replacing.
And my style is different from his. Just like an NBA player whose #1 draft pick is not going to be the same as the player he's replacing.
But even if you're a legend, replacing a legend, it's still not the legend that you're replacing. It's like when Joe Montana retires and Steve Young steps in. It's still that's not Joe Montana. Yeah, but this is the next legend.
Yeah, look at the way this guy's running around. Right, but
so it's a very tough to stay. Even if you're a legend, you can't step into a legend show. You just can't.
That is a tough thing in itself, right there.
Yeah, Oof. Yeah. It's a no-win situation in that sense. But so you learned a lot that was totally different.
That whole thing about mental health and. Also, the way I tick is, and I don't know if I can 100% pinpoint it, but I mean, I really want the best for people. And when someone would call in with these problems, it affected me greatly.
I got to imagine, yeah.
And
so you're carrying it around with you, I imagine.
I did. I carried it around with me, and I looked at the way I was living my own life many times, and I questioned, oh man, maybe I'm doing these things in life because of these things that maybe happened to me.
Yes, and you started being self-aware and analyzing your conditioning. Hold
on. Sorry. So I started looking at my own life and why I was making certain decisions in my personal life. Mm-hmm. And that's all because of Loveline and Dr. Drew, and not being afraid to speak to a professional if you have something going on in your mind, or you're doing something in life that's a pattern that if you asked an outsider, is that normal? Like, no, why are you doing this?
Yeah. I mean, that is so important. Mental health is so important, and reaching out for help is so important. It's just becoming somewhat accessible and known, but that's so important that you say that. And I think that show was so important because of that. And just in general, hearing people like you and anybody in the spotlight talk about it, because especially people that have the ear of young audience, where the young audience isn't exposed to what mental health issues are, what they're dealing with, how to get help, how to reach out. That's huge. And I appreciate you mentioning that, because that is so big for our society. And
It is.
You do have, knowing you personally, but even professionally, and watching you do have a genuine concern for others, and you do have a big heart where you want to see others do well. You want to see it. So that must have been quite draining, being on that show, seeing these real problems, because you're an empathetic, compassionate person. So that's had to be a hell of a life growing experience for sure.
And it was. It was.
So anything else in your career that you want to do that you haven't done? There's things like, okay, I mean, I know you'd like to play for the Dodgers, and maybe 20 years ago you had a chance, but are there other things you want to do in your career? I mean, is TV, movies, or is it like you just love radio and you can't imagine doing anything else? Like, let's hear about your dreams.
All right.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
You know, in the beginning of my career in Los Angeles, I liked doing TV. Loved radio. Now I love radio and I love being on TV.
Oh, so you love them both.
I love it. My fingers are crossed I get some more TV opportunities.
Yeah.
I just finished 115 episodes of a show. If anyone has DirecTV, it's called Audience
Yes.
Music. There's one band an episode, super in-depth interviews, and they play in between the interview.
Yeah, I love that.
The artists really let their guard down on the show. It's called Audience Music. But I would like that is Audience Music on DirecTV, channel 334.
Yeah.
It's the same station that Dan Patrick is on.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing insider's look into
It
these
is.
artists.
Yeah.
They know you, so they're comfortable. They drop their guard. They're talking about stuff that they don't usually talk about.
Right.
You bring it out of them. That's part of what you do, and you have the credibility and the experience. But
Thanks,
that's
Steve.
a very that was a very cool show. You did how many episodes?
I think like 115 of those.
And is that they're done?
I think it's done.
You think it's done?
I
You
would
don't-
say 99.99% done, but 115 is a good run.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work, and we had everybody from Rick Ross to Keith Urban and Korn, Melissa
Wow.
Etheridge and Sheryl Crow to 311,
across the genre.
Panic at the Disco, you name it.
The Coachella effect.
Blue Oyster Cult. Blue
Oyster Cult?
Yes.
You got tickets to Blue Oyster Cult?
You got tickets to Blue Oyster Cult.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes.
I don't know if these guys even know what we're talking about, but wow. Well,
That's your little
the
brother's a
Coachella
good-looking
effect.
kid.
All the different genres, it doesn't matter. It's like
doesn't
what moves
matter.
people,
Right.
what has a message, what
Yeah.
has a feel or mood. Doesn't matter what genre.
Right.
Doesn't matter what instrument. So that's what's fabulous about
But I would
that.
love to do more TV, but I am so focused on this afternoon radio show. And there are so many choices in life. When you get in your car, the distractions are at an all-time high. Everybody already knows this. I mean, I stand in line at the deli. 2 seconds in, I'm looking at in my Instagram. So when people get in the car, if you are not doing something compelling the second they tune in, goodbye.
They're gone.
And so when there wasn't as much competition, you could take your time getting into subjects, and I'm Stryker, that's Klein, and do about it. Now it's like it's Stryker and Klein, bam,
Boom.
let's get into it. Let's go. Let's grab their attention right away and hopefully keep them.
That's interesting. Yeah, you're competing now with the Deal or the Lead.
I am. I'm here with the Deal, also known as the Lead.
in Hebrew.
Yes.
If you go backwards. If you go right to left, it's the Deal and the Lead.
I hope buildings aren't built on the same angle as this thing hanging down. The leaning tower of the Deal right there.
It's like the Pisa Tower.
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty nice. Can we fix that, maybe?
I'm so sorry to call. No, it is straight. It's
We got
straight
a real
as can be.
professional here, for God's sakes. We
Professional
got to get our
hand
shit
signer.
together.
Yeah.
My God. So that's so more TV. So how about I asked everyone this because I think it's important to hear. Knowing what you know now through your career experience, what would be some advice you would give the younger Stryker starting out? What would you say to just advice, things to avoid, things to look to do? Because when you start out and you're young, you're totally lost.
Right.
Now you have this book, this long career. Looking back, what were some things you could have told yourself that could have helped?
The job I have, it's not life or death if I don't do well one day.
That's good.
But at the same time, it's a quality that I think maybe people need.
Yeah.
Because if you could see me in my mind, if I don't do well, what it's like, it's just a terrible feeling. But I would tell myself, be so serious at the job, but don't take yourself seriously.
Ooh, that's a good one. Be serious, but don't take yourself so serious.
Yeah, I think it's okay to be youthful, but don't act like a child.
That's good.
But I
love it.
One thing, again, I don't know if it's luck or if it's the way I tick, but the advice that I would give myself to do even more than I did before was stick with it as hard as you can, because nothing is handed to anybody.
No,
and so
that's great.
I was making $13K a year working in radio.
And you were probably thrilled.
I got a free crisscross tape. Here you go. Jump, the single.
Jump around,
no, but
just, backwards backpack.
Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, D, very
that is
well
great.
on that.
No, you nailed it. I think that's fabulous advice. Again, I love asking this because when you get people at a certain level, at the most elite levels, you start hearing the same themes. And this is yours is a different take on these themes, but there's some of the same themes. It's stick-to-itiveness. You got to have, tenacity and stick to it.
Patience. And patience.
Nothing
and know
comes
that
quick.
A doctor is not just handed a medical license.
Yeah.
A great real estate agent, you can't just work one Sunday and expect to get great
put in
deals.
10
a comedian
years.
is not going to get a Netflix special because, wow, they did a Laugh Factory night.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, it's
a 10-year grind for anything to be an expert, and then maybe longer, depending on what you're trying to do. But you got to be able to put in the work, right? It's like it doesn't matter how talented you are.
Right.
You got to be able to put in the work, because there's a lot of talented people, and they're working. And if you're not rising to the occasion, someone's going to pass you by. So those are really good reminders.
Can I add one thing I would tell myself? That I would have told myself back then, no one's going to ask you in 5 years which parties you went to.
Right.
They're going to ask you, what have you been doing in your life lately? So if you think going to parties equals a great career or validation for yourself because someone let you in past a rope, that means absolutely nothing. What matters is, what have you been doing with your life as a professional, in your personal life, and how have you been conducting your life?
Yeah.
And so I would go back and tell myself probably that the most.
Yeah. Don't worry about the parties and the fame and the BS. Focus on
that's not validation.
Yeah. Focus on contributing and being true to yourself, like you said, and being productive and being the best you can be at your craft and giving back, helping you. These are wonderful themes that we hear a lot, and it's awesome because I know for you mean it in your essence, because I know you that way. But it's an amazing thing, especially again with your audience. I imagine they're younger, they're older too,
and I've grown. Some have grown with me, and it's incredible to see.
I've grown with it, but young people need to hear these things. Especially in this Instagram, social media, instant gratification, want success,
life
now.
Highlights on Instagram.
Yeah,
there's no low lights. Instagram is not my low lights. It's
Yeah.
not me bummed out. It's not me with anything I got spinning up here. It's not personal problems.
You're not posting that?
It's me in the Valencia filter. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that guy's all right in the Valencia.
Got a good tan.
Look at that lo-fi pic. Yeah, exactly.
Anything else you want to bless us with?
Oh, man.
You think you got one more season left? Do you think if you spent 8 months training, dieting, doing nothing else, going all out, running the sand dunes, the best trainers in the world, BP every day, long toss, massage, if you did that 12 months, I'll give you. Do you think you got a season in you? You think you could?
Absolutely not. No. I am...
Come on.
I injure myself these days sleeping. It's not going to the gym.
Too.
It's sleeping. I wake up like, wow, I can't believe how sore I am from sleeping. Yeah.
Well, me too. I get hurt. I'm hurt just turning like this.
Right. I backed out of my driveway. I'm like, my L4 S3 is out of whack now from turning like, is there a car coming?
Yeah. Well, man, thank you. I love you, brother.
You too,
awesome
Danny. Congratulations on everything you have done. And look at you, like, you could just be working your ass off like you do, but now you're throwing this in the mix. Season 2. I'm a big fan of everything you are doing.
You.
Congrats. Because what you do, talk about competition.
Yeah,
the real estate competition, especially out here, is insane, and you are right at the top of it. So kudos to you, man.
Thank you.
You are a great guy and a hard worker, and I learned from you as well.
Love it. Love it. Happy Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks. Season 2, episode
Season
1,
2.
right here with
Yes.
my boy Stryker in the house.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best. I am what I am today, cause I did it my way, nothing y'all can say. In this life or the next one, watch me, I'ma be the best.
Hey, thank you, Stryker. We really awesome of you to come in on a Saturday, no less, Lee. Came in early, broke it down, talked to us about what it takes to be a professional. Just such a good friend of mine, and so happy for all the success he's had. You can always find Stryker on Instagram at Ted Stryker, Stryker spelled Stryker. You can also find him on KROQ 106.7. They do 3 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Stryker and Klein. So tune into that. There's always fun, entertaining stuff there. But thanks, my brother. I appreciate you coming in. Thanks for tuning in to The Deal. I'm Danny Brown. I'll see you next week.